Well, funny enough, I'm actually starting my own outsourcing company as well, or like design company. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. So I'm launching this summer. I'm launching Pathfinder Studios, and we're going to be doing concept art, world building, art direction for games, film, and other entertainment projects mostly. We've already been working on a number of projects, including this game that I was assistant art directing. Yeah, super excited for that. And it's just I think a natural progression from, doing the lead concept stuff, the art direction stuff, and other entrepreneurial things that I've been a part of.
Please welcome art director, concept artist, Jort van Welbergen to this episode of the Learn Squared podcast. Jort uses his wealth of experience to reveal what ingredients are needed to forge a successful career as a concept artist. Jort uses his wealth of experience to reveal what ingredients are needed to forge a successful career as a concept artist, his own incredible career path, why he puts so much energy into helping fellow artists, and what he's got planned next. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Learn Squared podcast. I'd like to welcome one very awesome person and guest, Jort van Welbergen. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's a true honor to be here. You've had such fantastic guests before, so I feel very humbled to be there as well. To step in there.
Awesome.
Spot,
You're
so.
definitely not out of place, and equally very inspired by your journey and your career. I've spoken to you a few times, at events back in the day, and just I don't know if we can get into all that kind of stuff as to just the whys and what have you, but your energy, the way you give information almost freely, and obviously inspiration of your work as well. That's always been something that I've always looked at as a great standard to hit or a marker to set as well. So love to get the audience to know more about yourself and what you do. But before we get into all that good stuff, if you wouldn't mind just giving everybody a quick intro as to your origin story and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I started out, doing art with Warhammer. It's a well-known hobby that a lot of us started out with. I started it when I was 11 years old. It was definitely the books and the amazing artwork in there that really captured me, although I wouldn't start actually trying to imitate that for a couple of years more. Eventually that did come around though. I started doing some freehand stuff and it was oh, this is super tiny. I want to expand to canvas or bigger. And I just started painting acrylics and oils. I found a teacher for that through some fantasy event here in the Netherlands. And that's basically how I got started. Then I painted all through high school, just painting whatever I wanted. Didn't really have any classes or mentors after the first couple classes. And so it was just a natural progression for me to go into art school. Now the thing is that I also like to do applied stuff like design work, more, I don't know, not just the gallery artist stuff, but also more applied art, right? So first I applied to a gallery art type of art school, but it wasn't really my jam. I didn't really fit with the teachers. So I started looking around a bit and I found this education, which was game art. So I went and studied there at art school doing game art. And this school had a really good connection with Guerrilla Games, who is, of course, known for Killzone and now Horizon Zero Dawn. And, they did some other games in the past as well. So I was super fortunate to do my internship there when I was in my third year of uni. Mind you, I worked my ass off for it. It's kind of a funny story. I'm not sure if I told you before. But basically what it was because I was just doing acrylics and oils, it was kind of a step for me to switch to Photoshop in my first year in art school. And so my portfolio wasn't really fleshed out that I applied with to them for my internship. So initially they actually declined my application. And then they sort of sent me the wrong email. So they said initially they said oh yeah, your work is good enough. Please do a art test. And then they were oh yeah, we sent you the wrong email. Sorry. And they felt bad for it. So they still let me do the art test. I studied for a month and then I could do the art test and I really did quite well, according to them. So still got to do that internship. And that just, yeah, kicked off my career. After working at Gorilla for a year, first the internship, then a summer job, I graduated art school, then went to work at CIG for 2 years, working on Star Citizen. I learned a lot there as well. That's when I first started using like proper 3D with Modo, and Blender wasn't a thing back then. From CIG, I started. I went freelance because when I started at CIG, I met my now wife, and she was living in Rome. I really wanted to live with her, so I just thought maybe I could try freelancing for a bit. So I moved to Rome. Started freelancing. My first job was with Atom Hawk, which was really cool as well. And with them, I worked on a bunch of games. Super grateful again for the opportunity. I was also teaching at the time at Idea Academy in Rome. Been teaching quite a lot. But yeah, then from Rome, I worked on a bunch of games, and I really wanted to work in film. At the time, I was also visiting industry workshops quite a lot, where I think we've met. Years and years ago. It's before COVID. It seems like prehistoric now. But and so at industry workshops, I met all these like amazing film people like Jama and some other people, and I really wanted to get into that. And eventually, I did manage through some recommendations from an amazing artist called Chris Rosewarne, who recommended me for a job. And so I went to London to work on a couple TV shows, a couple films. Managed to work on a Marvel film called Eternals, which wasn't the best film, but at least it looked good, so it still counts. And then from there, I got to work on House of Dragon, which did a little bit better. And then, after that and in between, I worked on a bunch of other projects. So I'm still freelancing, going strong. I've been freelancing for 7 years now. So,
Cool.
Definitely ups and downs and cool projects and, not so cool projects, but most of it's been really fun. That's my story.
Awesome. Sick. I was surprised at the obviously more like on the painting side of things, because my first discovery of you work wise, I think it was actually when he was on one of the Twitch streams with Ash back in the day. I thought you initially originated with hard surface design. Because that's what I knew you of. Obviously, I think you did that drone and you did a few other things as well. So when did you switch to that, and what made you lead towards that?
So it's a funny thing, I guess, but as soon as I figured out 3D, and I started with Google SketchUp, so it was maybe the best 3D, but the thing I always loved was, Legos, and then 3D to me was just Legos but digital, and I found out how to do robots and mechanical things, and I always loved to do those out of Legos. Like with Legos, I would build robotic arms, with all the pneumatic like pieces with the air power, pistons, and everything. So that always had my interest, but that wasn't really something I painted. Most of my paintings before were fantasy paintings or fantasy based. A couple spaceships, I guess, but not really. So it was only until I figured out 3D and photo bashing that I got back into sci-fi and the hard surface stuff. And then, and then I picked up Fusion 360 along the way as well. But I actually graduated with just doing SketchUp. And funny thing is that SketchUp is still used in the film industry a lot. And it was actually the reason that I knew SketchUp was the reason I got hired to work on films as well, because the production designer was still using SketchUp. So, it was just, but it wasn't until I figured out those tools that I found a love for hard surface, which is, I guess, kind of funny in a way.
But, interesting.
Yeah, but I always wanted to be a product designer before I went to art school. Cool. So, like, I definitely had an interest in engineering and robotics and cars and whatnot. I just never made it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. And obviously, like, just to pick a few projects out, like from Star Citizen to House of Dragon, that's almost different ends of the spectrum, at least in terms of visual. Obviously, I'm sure we can get into like the design talk later on, but like design is design no matter what you do. Of all the things you've done, do you have a preference of like which type of kind of work or theme you prefer on, or are you totally cool with anything?
I really like the variety that I of the projects that I get to work on as a freelancer. And usually when I work on a sci-fi project, I'll have a personal fantasy project that I'm just like sketching away on, or vice versa. And I think that just stems from my interest in like Warhammer as well as Lord of the Rings, as well as, because I play Warhammer as well as 40K at the same time. I would also compete in tournaments, by the way. So like I was not just painting, I was like full on playing hardcore as well. I just like all of this stuff, and I'm really fortunate that I got to work on all of this stuff as well. Yeah, I do hope that I get to work on more fancy things, but it's also about building up your visual library, right? So like if you work on a lot of sci-fi things, it's easier to work on sci-fi because you have so much more visual library to use. But yeah, I mean, I like both, I guess. I do like vehicles and spaceships though, but it's
Between the two, or like say, let's say sci-fi, I guess more grounded stuff, or what have you, versus like the fantasy stuff. You mentioned a bit there about obviously more visual library for the sci-fi things. Have you found you tend to tap into or lean into certain things, whether it's technique or even research, when you are dabbling in different kind of like worlds, for example, fantasy and sci-fi?
So for sci-fi, I tend to design on principles and on themes. Same for fantasy, really, but it's like you take some key references, but mostly like when you do a spaceship, for instance, I know how airplanes work, I know how rockets work, and I just try to incorporate that as best as possible, as well as designing to a theme or a mood that the ship should exude, right? Like whether it's like a Black Ops police ship, like the one I did for the Nomon course, or it's more like I don't know, like a racer or alien thing. And the same goes for environments or even castles for Game of Thrones. I think that the principles they're usually the same across those spectrum. It's just you use a different language, I guess, to express it, but the grammar is very similar in all of these. I like languages as well, so like
Oh, cool.
for me it's sometimes easier to explain it that way. But yeah, that's how I would say. Like, if you know a bit of Latin and a bit of Greek, you will have an easier time like learning all the European languages.
Got it.
Right, because there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sick. I like that analogy and also the explanation. What would you say is the Latin and Greek for a modern day artist and concept artist and designer?
Well, it's definitely so you need the right process. You need to know the basic principles of design, such as shape, rhythm, contrast, color. Of course, is also really important. And then yeah, I would definitely say like the relationship between the shapes is really important. Even as a hard surface designer, being able to paint and understand like flow of shapes, I think is really important. Because as a hard surface designer, you often get too engrossed in the details, and you should really keep zooming out and see the whole picture, the whole composition, the whole sentence in order to pick which words to write. That's how I would say it. So understanding the bigger picture, the whole, and then also the themes. So obviously Mike Hill did some very influential talks back in the day in industry workshops on these like archetypes, which rang really, still ring really true. So for instance, you can have a ship definitely be like the villain in a story, or a castle could definitely look like a villain. And I think that's mostly to if you break down what a villain looks like, so it's dark, evil, menacing, and certain shapes like belong to that, certain patterns belong to that, certain materials belong to that, and you could reapply those same things to any sort of subject matter, whether it's a gun, a ship, or a castle, or whatever. So that's how I think about it, and that's also when I teach it, that's how I try to teach my students to think about it as well. It's just you whatever the goal is of the design, you break it down into its essential components and then build it back up with whatever subject matter there is. And then the subject, if it's a spaceship, it also needs to have certain mechanical, components. But on top of that, you can definitely do almost anything, I think.
Yes. Perfectly put. What about the opposite? What would you say are things that people should definitely avoid? Because you do get a lot of beginners that tune into the podcast in general, and obviously they're all trying to figure things out. We've all been there. We know what that's like, trying to get yourself sorted out, get your footing right and everything. But at the same time, you have that energy, creative energy, where you're still kind of like throwing ideas out, creating things, and sometimes it doesn't always stick. What would you say are the things to avoid? In design side.
Well, if you think of beginner advice, things to avoid, I mean, there's so many things to say to beginners. So like trends is usually the one thing people say, like, don't really follow the trend, try to follow your own stuff. It's partially true. Trends are there because they are trends, and like companies do find that. What I usually say to a beginner is like, pick the one thing that you're decently good at, quite passionate for, and just try to push that as far as you can. And only when you're good enough, like professional level, ready to get hired, then maybe try to look to expand and to diversify. So I did the same thing. That this was my path. I started doing hard surface vehicles and props. That's quite similar. It's actually the same job position at Atomhawk as well, and some other companies. And then only from there I started doing environments, and only from there I started doing fantasy or some other subject matter. And that's what I've been teaching my students, and that's been very successful. So I would say like definitely stick to that. Stuff not to do is try to make sure that whatever you do is applicable to the industry, and applicable to the pipeline of the industry as it is currently. So even though certain trends are very interesting and sexy, new tools come around like Blender plugins, they're there all the time, right? Or AI tools, or there's going to be something around the corner. Try to make sure that it all serves the same purpose, and don't try to do too many side quests. I mean, we spoke about side quests in the beginning a little bit, but I think especially in the beginning, it's the hardest thing is to stay focused and to stay on the path, at least at the beginning, and then later you can take a couple side quests, I think.
From any time I've spoken to you or even heard your talks and all that kind of stuff, you do seem like someone who's got their stuff together, if that makes sense, and very driven, and you kind of know what to do. Is that a natural thing for you? Has that always been there, or have you nurtured that?
I'm not sure. I have always sort of like gone, I did always like set my goals and just went for it like 100%, even if it maybe wasn't the right direction. The best way to explain it, and other people have like asked me about like drive and sort of focus as well. I've done a lot of road cycling in the past where I did like long distance, so like you're in the UK, so like 60 miles a day, right? Like on a single day, like in one stretch.
Sick.
And I would do it without a map, because this was before the time you had internet everywhere. And the best way to go about it and maintain speed and maintain distance is to just pick like a direction and just go, right? If you keep doubting like which direction to take, which road to take, you're never going to get anywhere. And so what I would do is usually like just pick a village, and I would just cycle to the village. And then when I'm in the village, I look at the signs and I'm like, all right, and then I'm going to pick the next village, right? And this is how I think about like drive and work as well. Is like you just pick something, you set a goal, you work towards it, and it might not be 100% along the path you should follow, but at least it's a goal that you can go for like 100%. You achieve something, and then once you achieved it, you can look for the next thing and look back at where you sort of came from, how you did it, and then the next goal that you set should be narrowing it down a little bit more and a little bit more in the right direction. So at some point you're only moving really forward and not sideways anymore. So yeah, that's the analogy I like to use. It's just, just pick a village and just go for it. Pick a goal, pick a little project, but make it achievable as well. Because if you're going to pick a village that's like 100 miles away, you're never going to get there, right? So that's cool. Definitely a pitfall. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely brought back some memories in terms of like pre-sat-nav era and having to know your directions, and even how to unlost yourself when you get lost. Do you still do anything like that?
Well, I've got a family now and all of that, so not as much. I do like to drive without sat-nav, so cool. Just challenge myself a little, knowing the roads and remembering them all. It's just something I really enjoy doing. But no, I definitely should. I should do that some more in the future. Good point.
Just generally, just speaking, totally random. 60 mile, get a GoPro one, even just record it. That is like gold content for YouTube or what have you. And there's loads of like adventure kind of like channels, or whatever. I'm not saying do that, but it just sounds cool because
oh, absolutely,
finding your way
yeah.
and all of that good stuff. And I'm sure you've had like punctured tires and all sorts.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen channels actually that just do like a guy living in LA or whatever, and he's just riding his bike all the time with a GoPro.
Yeah.
No, so the thing was that I was pretty overweight when I was in university, and I was smoking at the time as well,
right.
so I decided that I would quit smoking and lose a ton of weight, and this was actually during my internship at Gorilla, so it's all very relevant. Cool. And then I set myself a goal that I would cycle from the Netherlands to Berlin, which is 900 kilometers. That's like 600 miles. And I would want to do it in a week. So I would have to go like 60 miles a day, right? I did that during my internship. And by doing that, I lost like 25 kilos at the time, which was a fifth of my weight. Yeah, but that's how I came to like cycling so far. I really enjoyed it. It was really cool, and it was before, like I say, like SatNav. So I would only have, internet when at my arrival destination. It was really fun. I can recommend it for anyone, just especially if you're a bit younger and want to see some of the world. You really experience the world in the best possible way, I think, on a bike. Even like I cycle a lot in Britain as well. I'm not sure where your listeners are mostly from, but just anywhere. Like walking for me is a bit too slow, and in a car you don't really see your surroundings, let alone in a plane or a train. So yeah, bike was definitely good. I mean, I'm Dutch, so bike obviously, but
true.
Can recommend.
Well, you've lived in the UK lived in the UK for a while, haven't you, or for a fair bit?
Yep.
Yeah, at least where I'm from, hardly any cyclists, and the cyclists that we do have tends to be kids or people that like to ride on pavements as opposed to the roads. But I don't do it much for similar reasons to yourself, family, all that kind of stuff. And even if I did, we tend to do stuff as a family. But obviously, we've got people that are a bit slower than I'd like to be. But you got to go with everyone's pace. But anything in nature, walks, that kind of stuff. I'm sure you've done all the stuff, and you will be doing all the stuff with like theme parks and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. But there's nothing beats, at least we found as a family, just being outdoors, being in nature, just enjoying a great view, and getting muddy and going home. It's I don't know if it's I'm sure it's like great generally, but I think also for a creative brain, and we spoke about it many times on many episodes, it seems to be like a free cheat code. Do you find that as well?
No, absolutely. And I got a dog 4 years ago, so I'm walk my dog like three times a day, in the park. Sometimes I take him to the forest, or we go to like the beach or whatever. And honestly, it's the best thing. I can really recommend it. And then I take my son now as well, so we go for a little walk. He's in a pushchair, but whatever. It's good. It's good. It's definitely good. I lived in Rome before, and I didn't speak any Italian, and I was just inside working almost all the time. Like I would maybe leave the house like on the weekend, and that's it. And it wasn't really healthy. Definitely not the best thing. I wish I had a dog there. Although like in the middle of Rome, probably not the best idea. It's too hot as well. But outside, go to nature. It's definitely good.
Sick. What was Rome like? I've traveled. We went there as a family holiday just before the year before COVID hit. So 2019, basically, and. It was amazing. It was amazing. And we didn't even get to see hardly anything. What we did see was like, it's really overwhelming is what you can see. Obviously, like if you like history and architecture and all that kind of stuff, and it's amazing. What was it like? I know you obviously said that, you couldn't really, I'm assuming you couldn't really explore it as much as you would have liked with work and stuff, but what was it like living there?
I did explore quite a lot. It was more that I had and have basically one friend in Rome. He's amazing, Massimiliano. If you listen to this, you're the guy. That was all I had, right? So I knew he had limited time. But what I did do, and this is, I think, if you ever live in a city like London, Rome, Paris, whatever, like if you're studying at New Edge, I taught at New Edge as well, by the way. But if you're ever in a city like that, even temporarily, try to go out and do like plein air painting or drawing or whatever. You don't need to like do the whole gouache painting stuff, if that's not your thing. Wasn't my thing, but I would go when I was in Rome with the students of Idea Academy. I would go every Saturday morning. I would go to the monuments, to Colosseum, to the Vatican, whatever, and we would just like draw and paint. And honestly, like that was so much fun. I'm so happy I did that, because you probably have the same thing, but when you live somewhere, you don't want to be the tourist in your own sort of place. You don't really go to see the sights or whatever, and it's such a shame, especially when you live in a city like Rome. So I did actually get to see a lot of it, and also I was crazy enough to ride my bicycle over there, which was pretty suicidal in a city like Rome. But you know, I was able to go on my bike to the Vatican in like half an hour. So why wouldn't you? You know, so it was I did really enjoy it. I do miss this city. But it was just too crazy for me to start a family, or for us to start a family there. So that's why we decided to leave.
Where are you based now?
So we moved back to the Netherlands from Rome, back to where I'm from, to start a family, to be with my parents and family, and you know, for the baby. So we're in Utrecht right now. We're actually moving house in 3 weeks. We bought a house.
You said yes. Congrats.
Yeah. So very exciting. It's full of boxes here. That's
cool.
Also why my camera is off, because it's just a mess.
That's fair enough. Obviously home is different, so we'll leave home at the equation, or you can throw that in there if you want. Do you have a favorite place of all the places you traveled to and even lived as well?
There's a lot of places that I really, really enjoy. I mean, so I've seen a lot of Italy while living in Rome. My wife is a foreign student, so she wasn't able to, on her visa, she wasn't able to leave Italy much, which honestly, like, if there's any country you want to be stuck in, it's probably Italy.
Cool.
We just rented a car and we went everywhere. So we've been, you know, down to Sicily. We've been, you know, East Coast, West Coast, North. So some of my favorite locations are in Italy. Garda Lake is where I proposed to my wife, which was amazing. And then Lago Maggiore was amazing, and Milan was amazing. So all of, the big Italian cities, if you've never been to Italy, definitely go. Florence, Rome, Siena. Oh, if you, by the way, recommendation, this is like, you know, a secret from someone who's been all over Italy. Go to Elba. So Elba is this island that Napoleon was banished to, right? It was the first island he was banished to, and after that he got banished to somewhere in the Atlantic because he escaped. But if you want the best beaches, affordable, amazing food, and actually relative quiet compared to other holiday destinations in Italy, Elba is the place to be. But then, London. I really enjoyed my time in London. I was lucky enough to be able to live in central London while working there. So for 2 months, I lived like on the Thames in central London.
Cool.
During the World Cup where France won, and I was there hanging out with all my concept buddies, and
sick.
It was just great. And at the time, Finian McManus was living there, and we were playing D&D with like Henry Wong, and like, it was just such a great time with those people.
Sick.
Yeah, so that was amazing. But then also I lived in Manchester for a while. That was when we were working on Star Citizen. And next to Manchester, you have the Peak District, where I really love to go cycling. It's just a beautiful area. What other places? I mean, there's most places there's something beautiful to be found. I guess I always try to look for it. Those are definitely some of the more inspirational places. And then, Belgium, amazing. Germany, so many nice spots when I was cycling through it as well. Still so many cool places to explore, though, you know?
Oh, for sure. I mean, even just me being here in the UK, like, again, speaking about side quests and just game terms, like completion, I probably do like 10% of the UK just to explore, and there's so much to see and appreciate. Went to Edinburgh for the first time a few weeks ago, and I've heard the hype. Obviously, you don't really appreciate until you get there. The hype is real. Edinburgh is absolutely stunning, and even the drive up there as well. Like past Peak District, you get to the Yorkshire Dales, and obviously at least where I'm from, you go through that way. Such a great drive, and that's just in the car. If I was cycling, I probably wouldn't make it that far, to be honest. But you know, I'm sure it'd be quite decent for a pro like yourself. You mentioned some awesome name drops there as well.
Casual name drops. I know.
But like, is community, especially the creative community, is that important to you?
Very much so. Yeah. No, the people that you grow up with, to me, is plays just such a big part in the career and also the enjoyment of the career and the work. I was very fortunate enough that in my class there were some really amazing artists. Bo Sonneveld was there. He's an amazing concept artist that you might know, living in Berlin right now. Worked on a bunch of films as well. Worked with Charakter a lot there. And Thomas Stoop, who is I think he's lead now at great artist as well. And then the people I did internships with there. So Danar Warrior, I'm not sure if you know him.
Yeah.
But he also went to my school, and I was doing my internship at Gorilla with him, which was great. And
Sick.
all the people that were working there, and it's just so much fun because you work there at the internship, and then everyone who was there, we were there with like 8 interns or 10 or something, like a large intern group, and they all went to do their own things, and then you meet them later. There were some other people that I went to THU 9 years ago, 10 years ago. It was the second THU they ever did. And I met like 20 people there that after that first THU I just saw like 3 times a year at every event, and sometimes I wouldn't see them until like 5 years later, and then it's almost like we'd seen each other every day since or something. It's just
Yeah.
I love it. I love all the people. Industry workshop, same deal, of course. So yeah, to me it's just it's very important to see these passionate people, and because they hype you up, and you learn so much from them, and yeah, so many insights, just work ethic, that sort of thing. Yeah. Super important to me. So to anyone listening, all the beginners out there, definitely go to all the events, all of them, all the European ones for sure. If you're in Europe, I'm not sure if there are any in the US, but I used to do that. I used to go to all of the events, and there's some really great events happening still, like Promised Land. There is Playground's art department, of course. Concept 101. So yeah, I could definitely recommend going there, meeting people, keeping in touch. Discord groups is a thing now, of course. So go into the Discord groups, and then also try to meet people in real life. Go grab a drink with them, or
Yes.
a coffee or whatever, whenever you're in town. Yeah, could definitely recommend.
If you never did those things, obviously knowing what you know now, obviously hindsight's always this amazing superpower that we never really can really make use of. If you never went to those events, never connected with artists to the extent that you have, how do you think your skills and just your art in general would be like now?
Well, I'm not sure I would have had a career like I have if I didn't go. So many lessons I learned were from the people that I met. Like I said, like when I did my internship at Gorilla, I learned everything from the people that were working there. They were so helpful, which is also the reason I love to do these podcasts and do talks and whatever, or even like go to events and just share the knowledge, even if I'm not doing a talk. Like I was at Playgrounds a couple months ago in Eindhoven. I wasn't speaking there or anything, but I just tried to meet up with a bunch of people and try to help them on their paths, to become concept artists, because so many people helped me along the way. So I just love to give back, but not just that, like jobs of course as well, because if you're a nice dude and you're good at what you do, then if somebody gets a job and that they can't take, they might recommend you for it. Again, I've done the same as well, but that's how I got maybe half of my jobs or more are through the people that I knew, not necessarily portfolio. Of course, you need to have a good portfolio in order for them to recommend you, because they would recommend to the clients, and the clients would need to see the portfolio. But knowing the right people is super, super important. And for me, it was always I really enjoy it too. Just meeting people, hanging out with people. So it's quite easy. I know for a lot of us, we're all introverts, right? I'm also an introvert, even if you don't think so, but. I like after an event, I just need to sleep for a week because I used up all of my energy. But when I'm there, just because I'm connecting with the people that are like me, I just don't feel that social burnout that you normally get from social gatherings. So I don't
Yes.
mind it as much. But if you're an introvert like us and you're like, oh, but I'm an introvert, I'm not gonna enjoy it. Just try it, and you'll probably enjoy it. Just get out there. Yeah.
For sure. I'd definitely vouch for that as well. That was going to be my next question as well, just to let people know that, like, it does sound daunting. It does sound like, oh, I got to go out and meet people, all that kind of stuff. Especially just general terms. Just it's actually quite oddly enough how humans are like a, what is it, like a collaborative and social species. It's very awkward just like going up and approaching people and speaking to people, especially strangers. And it's even more worse when you have like, obviously, like, a lot of artists have followings as well. So trying to approach someone that you consider like your art god, for example, like, is quite intimidating. But nevertheless, from my experiences as well, there is something, and maybe we're being very biased here, but you hit the nail on the head. There's something, artists speaking to other artists and people like yourself, and there's that kind of like, oh, you get it. You get this experience, and there's so many people from different backgrounds, different experiences, and what have you. But nevertheless, everyone kind of still feels like, in a weird way, in a cool way, like just a duplicate of yourself. That there's something quite profound to that. And I've spoken to people in different industries, different realms as well. And in some events, like, it is kind of similar as well. But I don't know. I think there's something with creatives in general. Like, there is this kind of like this energy that people kind of like latch onto and relate to, and I think thrive off of as well. So yeah, just to reiterate what you just said, whenever you get a chance to go and get to an event. I remember when my first industry workshops, when I went, just from where I am, getting to London, staying there for a few days, buying the ticket as well, that was a bit of a cost. And I remember thinking, like, actually just, a bit of a tangent, a bit of rambling on about myself. When I first went to industry workshops, that was the last chance I gave myself to see if I can make it in the industry. I just thought, okay, let's just see one last time. Let's see if I even belong here, because I'm probably wasting my time. And obviously, I think it answered itself in the end. But I remember the cost, thinking, oh God, this is a fair bit of money. I have to do a few more shifts just to kind of get this back. Especially when you don't know what it's going to do. And it paid off itself, not just only financially, obviously, it just more like the reward of it changed my life completely.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, these events, like, a lot of the tickets are quite expensive, but the other cost you can usually, if you go to so most events have a Discord group these days. And quite often, like, if you're if you're open to that, you could probably find a sofa to sleep on through another person that goes to the event that lives in the same city as the event. I've known other people to do that. And also there's like these cheap like touring buses as well that go to places, so you can make it a little less expensive than it might seem, although some events are still quite pricey. But then just go to the cheaper ones. They're still quite good. And if you can't make it to an event for whatever reason, I can always recommend to just hit up, like, talk to, like, chat to any of the artists that you admire, and just show them your work, ask for some feedback, ask for some pointers. Most of the good ones will do that. I have a lot of people that especially after spoken at an event or whatever, but they will come up to me and ask for some feedback or whatever, a little bit of guidance, and I'm always happy to give that. So anyone listening right now, just feel free.
And he's not lying. He did that for me many years ago as well. And again, that was another moment where I was like, it gave me validation. I didn't know I was seeking it, but just hearing that from, like, obviously an artist like yourself, thinking, okay, yes, I'm on the right path. And even if you're not, you gave some great advice as well. So yeah, definitely hit up you up. At the same time though, you're probably going to get a massive flood of inbox requests now and everything. Interesting topic though about money. And that's something that, just thinking back now after all these episodes, haven't really addressed much or spoken about, just the cost of being an artist these days. You've been a creator for many, many years. You mentioned obviously, like, in terms of disciplines and even like technology. Back in the day, I'm sure it would have been like whatever Autodesk was offering at that time, through to Blender now, add-ons, plugins, render engines, tools, sketchbooks, what have you. Obviously courses and stuff like that as well. One thing that can put a lot of people off and they do get intimidated by is just the cost of things. Do you have any like tips or just advice around that kind of stuff? Like how people should really approach how to manage this journey financially, at least like budgeting maybe, or just like what tools and what not to spend on, if that makes sense.
Sure. So, I mean, it really, of course, depends on what you exactly want to do and where you are and what your budget is, right? I mean, you can do things on many different types of budgets. I've known, I'm not sure what his name is again, but I've met this artist in Eindhoven who is from Nigeria. Maybe you know him. He's a concept artist, illustrator, and he works on his own animation show now. And he had the most inspirational story where he was working on the shittiest laptop ever in his village, and he would only have electricity in his village at night because during the day the factories would take the electricity and there would be no electricity, no internet whatsoever. So he could only work between 2 a.m. and like 8 a.m. in the morning. And he did it for years until he got good enough, and like he just kept doing that. And then he managed to now he's art directing a Netflix animation show about his own like graphic novel, right?
Sick.
That is pretty hardcore. But he did it, right? So I think, for any budget, if you have the determination, things are definitely possible. On a European level, what I would recommend is just find a cheap tablet, use Blender. You don't need really the biggest graphics card there is. Try to find like a cheap AMD something, and you can do most things. If you could do the Piotr Krinsky like super high fidelity 3D scenes. For that, obviously you need a big PC. But honestly, if you just want to be a concept artist, you need to learn the design stuff, the fundamentals, and for that, it doesn't really matter what you have. You could probably even do it on a library PC if you really don't have the money for a PC. You just go there, you buy a cheap Yuan tablet secondhand for like, I don't know, $20 or whatever, and you're done. I think you can do it on that low of a budget. Also join all the Discords. That's just free advice, free tips. YouTube is free these days, so you can learn a lot through YouTube. And yeah, that's the cheapest way of doing stuff. Now, if you have a little bit more money, I could definitely recommend doing a course or going to an art school. Art schools obviously vary in quality. I would pick an art school where there's actual artists teaching. There are some cheaper ones, some more expensive ones. The most expensive in Europe is probably New Edge. However, I've been teaching at New Edge and seeing the kind of quality students that they produce. Even the 15,000 a year or something that they ask, I think is actually worth it. If my kids would ever want to be artists, I would probably take a bank loan and like pay for them, but you don't have to. You can also do it on your own. I've been mentoring many people over the years with many different budgets in many different countries, and the main thing of whether you succeed or not is usually your focus and determination, and your persistence. Like I was teaching a guy in France who was like a bioengineer or whatever. He was like 40 already, quite old, and he was like, am I ever like gonna make this? And I was like, dude, just keep at it. Just try to power through and keep going. And he made it. He's now an art director for a VFX house in Paris. Just a couple weeks ago, a Spanish student that I had, he's been working on his portfolio for like 5 years. Like 5 years ago, I was teaching him. Then he showed up with like this really good portfolio, and he applied to a bunch of companies. He got hired a couple weeks ago. So
Sick.
sure, it took him like 5 years of like doing that next to his normal job, but it's all possible as long as you have the drive, determination. And I think you can, if budget is gonna stand in your way, then maybe you don't want it enough to be able to put the work in to actually get it done. It sounds kind of patronizing when you say it that way, but you need to put a lot of work in for this job. So yeah, and if you're not able or willing to do that, then it's fine to keep it as a hobby as well, honestly. And it's really fun to keep it as a hobby because you don't have any annoying clients to deal with, right? And you can still do some amazing art. But yeah, I think it's possible to do what we do on a number of budgets. Getting a good mentor, paid or unpaid, is definitely I would definitely recommend. Even as a student, but also as an aspiring professional. I've been mentoring students. I've been mentoring people working in studios, and I've been mentoring people switching careers, and I think on all of those levels, getting a mentor, paid or unpaid, I think is yeah, I would really recommend. Like I would get a mentor for certain specific things, right? If I want to get better at a certain specific technique or subject matter, yeah.
You mentioned a few things there about like, especially on the mentality side, and just maybe even just approach, and I guess overall like kind of like prime directive, so to speak. What common things have you seen in all the people that you've taught, and even just like being around the industry in general, that you see? Obviously, budget to one side, more like obviously people's mentality and just approach, and maybe even like attitude towards being an artist. Like, what do you see are the common pitfalls or common mistakes that people are making, or that at least if they tweak it a little bit, it would change their life for the better?
Yeah, so I think as an artist, you need to be able to be super confident in your work and also be super reflective of your work. And that is a balance that's really hard to attain. And for a lot of people, ego or the lack of ego is a major hurdle in their development. So you need, it's like, you know, when you pick a village to cycle to, you need to have the confidence just to go for it and pick one. And some people just, they're so indecisive, they cannot pick something and go for it, right? So that is the first step. You need to have the dare, the whatever, what I call the gut to just go for it, for something. But then once you're there, you also need to let go of all of that ego and really reflect on like what you've done, what you've learned, and try to apply that. Especially if you fail, especially if you're trying to learn, right? And that is really, really hard as an artist, because it's so easy to spot everything, or sometimes also really hard because it's all there in the visual, right? So I think ego is the biggest thing, and being confident and reflective enough, and it's something I see. And then also combined with that, it's probably ambition. The people that I have been mentoring that have been the most successful in the quickest amount of time just showed like an uncompromising amount of ambition. They were just so determined. They were willing to do everything. And this is also, again, this is a balance you need to hit, because, you know, this is the balance between being a commercial artist and a gallery artist, right? So like a gallery artist, they're mostly, most of the people that I know that are gallery artists, they're driven by their feelings, their emotions. They really want to express their vision of certain themes of the world, political or mystical or whatever, right? And a commercial artist is there mostly for the money, right? As a concept artist, you're usually somewhere in between, and finding that balance can be hard. Sometimes you're more of a gallery artist where you're a bit more, I call it like floaty, or like a butterfly. You're sort of like, you know, a bit everywhere. And those people, you know, they're great. They're but they're less driven, right? So it will take a very, very long time for them to achieve, you know, if they really want to be a commercial artist, to achieve that, if they stay in that mindset. The flip side is true too, where you're so driven by the commercial stuff that you might forget to actually put your own personality in your work and your own emotions in there, which actually makes it less viable for the industry. But yeah, I think like if you're too confident to be ambitious, that could be a problem, or not confident enough to not be ambitious. Like, does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so some people that, in the most successful people that I've seen, some people that you know went from zero to full professional in like 4 years. Like good friend of mine, Gavin Manners. I'm not sure, he was on this podcast as well, right? Like he's only been working for like 5 years or something. I mean, granted, he was a graphic designer before, and he definitely had the right interest in the right visual library, but he just went, you know, straight up in terms of skill level, just because of his sheer ambition and determination. Daniel McGarry, same deal. One of the, you know, founders of Concept 101, and amazing artist. You know, there's another couple names that I could name there. and some other people they just take a longer path because they're yeah, yeah, just less driven, but also because they want to explore, more the emotional side of art, which is completely fine, of course, as well. It's just yeah, that understanding what you are is, of course, also important.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a good understanding of yourself?
Well, for me, I always felt that I needed to do whatever I could do, with whatever, especially in this career where, like, some people wanted to just work at a company and just be there and do their 9 to 5, and then that's it. For me, that was never enough, especially in this day and age. By the way, I think that's probably the right choice, is to always be active and work on stuff and network and that sort of thing, because if you lose your job because of some studio shutting down, then you need to have some sort of other opportunities. But yeah, I definitely try to be as ambitious as possible. A little less so at the moment, of course, because I have the family, so I need to balance that out. So I definitely feel like I can't do as much as I maybe want to do on the work side, but that's because I also want to be with my family and spend time with them. So that is what it is. I was definitely a little more ambitious before. And then the ego thing, I have my good times and my bad times. So sometimes I have too much ego and I don't want any feedback. And if anyone gives me feedback on my work, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But those are also the moments that I don't really learn as much, and
Yes.
and so when that moment passes, and it could be a couple months, then I'm like, oh, what was I doing? I'm so stupid. Of course I should have listened. Of course I should have taken on the feedback. So I'm definitely not perfect on the ego side. I have my moments where I'm overconfident. I also have my moments when I have the opposite, which is sort of like imposter syndrome, I guess, where I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't know why they even got me this job or whatever. So yeah, I'm switching. It's a bit of a tide, ups and downs. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's natural, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And to be honest, it's probably going to be a constant kind of like battle, like in the Matrix, as they said. It's just going to get deleted and reinstalled again. I'm sure they said it differently at the end, but it's always like a constant, rebirth and recycle with these kind of things. Did it ever used to be a problem for you, or have you always kind of like, because it's good as well that you're aware of that? And I think for some people they're never even aware of what it is, and I think just being aware is just probably the key, because then at least that way you can analyze it. Oh yeah, that's what that was, and you can kind of like maybe make little tweaks here and there as opposed to major adjustments. But yeah, was there something that you were always aware of, or did you have something that kind of like make your eyes open towards that?
For me, good question. I don't think it ever caused any problems. Definitely not after I started really in this career. Before I started the career, and like I did I was very ambitious in my hobbies as well with the Warhammer, and I did like LARPing as well, and had some like clubs and stuff, and I definitely did some stupid things there. But that's also, that's what you are as a kid, so that's where you get to learn. But for me, most of this reflection, most of this insight just came from really wanting to be able to teach my students to the best of my ability. And I really feel like if it's like when you raise a kid, you sort of, you want to do it like absolutely perfect, and also make sure that whatever you say, that it's like, it's true, and you don't say anything like incorrectly. So I really try to like distill it down to the absolute like truth of it as much as I can. And that's where I get a lot of this reflection from. Yeah, but even if also accepting the fact that you're not perfect, I guess it never really set in the way of a job, I don't think. No, I try to stay as professional as possible always.
Not to get too personal, but what has, at least from a creative perspective, becoming a parent done for your creative side?
For the creative side, so I think it definitely made me consider the job a lot more almost like more seriously because you know you have another mouth to feed. They're dependent on you now, so you really have to be at the top of your game. It always made me more. No, it doesn't always. Like it actually made me more ambitious, I guess. Even though I have less time to spend on it, I try to spend my time more effectively now. Because I have less time, but I also it's way more important for me to succeed now because my family depends on it. Um, so yeah, that's also why I'm trying to take stuff more seriously than I did, even though I did pretty decently before I think, but yeah, I just really try to be my best, even more so now with the family.
What are your career highlights, if any, or is everything a big highlight?
Well, there were highlights. It's definitely not all positive. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Sure.
Big highlight for me, I mean, getting into Gorilla as an intern. Like I said in the intro, I got lucky. I did work my ass off, but I also got really lucky to be there, and I really felt it. When I got in there, I was the weakest out of all the interns in terms of skill and ability, but when I left, I wasn't, and for me that was an achievement. I wasn't the best, but I wasn't the weakest anymore. And yeah, just being there at the start of Horizon, because yeah, they were just starting production on Horizon Zero Dawn was
Cool.
great. Being able to contribute, even if it was just like 3 props that made it into the game, was just really cool for me. I really enjoyed that. Seeing them and also having my friends be like, oh, is this the thing you worked on? You know,
Yeah.
like it was this your design? I was like, yes, this is mine. Definitely career highlight. Speaking at an event, so industry workshops in, was it 2017? I think was the first event I spoke at, and it was crazy. Ash was there as well, Ash Thorpe, and a bunch of other people that I was super inspired by, and they were just sitting there in the crowd, and I
Yeah.
had to, say something insightful. That was definitely a career highlight. Thanks, yeah, again for the opportunity there, for the people that made that possible. Um, the first film I worked on was a TV show. Actually, it was called Avenue 5. I'm not sure if you've seen it, with Hugh Laurie,
Yeah.
the Doctor House guy. That was crazy. So up until that moment, I've worked on games for 4 years, and everything I've done was digital, right? So everything you build on the computer stays in the computer. It's all digital. Then when I went to work in film, it started out the same way, and we did all the concepts and the drawings and whatever. But then at some point, it was like, yeah, concepts approved. Let's start building it. And I was like, wait, you like it enough to spend 12 million pounds on like building this as a real thing? And that was just mental. And then they started bringing in like the trucks full of like metal and wood, and they just started welding it together and building it all as a film set. And that was insane, because the production designer I work with, Simon Bowles, if he ever listens to this, thanks so much again for all the opportunities. I worked on a bunch of projects with him. He's an amazing production designer, but he likes to work on concepts up until it's fully finished. So whatever we made was made into the film almost 1-to-1. So if you look at my portfolio, you see that as well. Sometimes it's literally like find the differences sort of thing. And that was just crazy. So yeah, I got to walk into my concepts, which is definitely was a career highlight. Yeah, that was, I think those are definitely the biggest ones. We won an award for Quiet Place a couple months ago in February. That was pretty cool, with Simon again. So he was also the production designer on that one. And I was there in London on the stage, so that was fun. The other highlights, to be honest, and I know I've worked on some like big titles like House of Dragon and that sort of thing, and it was amazing to work on, and thanks again for everyone that helped me, be part of that. But I actually get a lot of fulfillment out of my students succeeding. So there was this one girl, Laura, which she just came to me. She's like, I want to internet gorilla. I don't care what it takes. Like, I want to intern there. And I was like, all right, your portfolio right now is definitely not that good, but we'll just work on it. And yeah, we worked on it for a year. Every week we were just like, I was giving her some tasks and she was working on it, and she just killed it. And she got that internship the same year I worked on House of Dragon, and actually I got more like fulfillment out of her achieving her dream than me,
Nice.
working on fucking Game of Thrones, right? So yeah, and the same again with the Spanish gentleman a couple of weeks ago when he suddenly was like, "Hey, I got this job," and I was like, "Yes." Yeah.
That's
And
cool to that's cool to hear, because like you mentioned ego as well. Like there's something obviously awesomely selfish about just making things, especially design stuff, because you're in control of the canvas and what comes out and stuff. I think I understand why, but I'd love to hear your take on it as well. Why would you say that is as profound, if not more profound, seeing someone that you've taught and help succeed versus someone that you did?
I think first off, I think I did already achieve quite a bit. Like, so that definitely helps that I achieved my dream, right? I got to do what I set out to do, which is to become a professional concept artist. But then also I think just helping others, being able to give that to them, helping them achieve their dreams. When so many other people help me, it just, it just makes sense, I guess. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just that giving back, and being able to do that, and seeing how happy they are to finally made it as well. I'm not sure why, but for me, yeah, it's just very important.
Sick.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's like what we mentioned before, like you have this value of community and obviously the art community, and you've seen what it takes to get to what it takes to get to where you need to get to. And you mentioned about drive and all that kind of stuff as well. And it's like seems to be in that kind of space, if that makes sense. And because that's something that you value as well, I think that's awesome. And I think that's something. I think I see it a lot, but I think I would love to see way, way more. Like just that energy of like paying things forward or just sharing knowledge in a very helpful way, in a very honest way that just leads to more positivity. If that makes sense, like it's just like clearly you value it and it adds value to the industry in general and obviously to the community overall. And because you could clearly equally be on the flip side and be like, no, this is my knowledge, I'm hoarding it, which is fine, and you can do what you need to do with it as well. But I think there's something I don't know. It's, in my brain, it's crystal clear, but I think how to explain is like super abstract. But it's just about like giving back, and it just seems healthy. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
just
good,
I would love for everyone, like concept artists or something entirely different. I don't really care what, but just to live their life to the fullest and achieve whatever they want to achieve, and if I can be a small part of that journey for someone, then for me that I would love to be able to do that. I think that's ultimately what gives life meaning or whatever. But I mean, it is like that, if somebody's set out on a journey, if you can help just a little bit, just give them that nudge. And obviously knowing what we know as professionals, we're able to give back more than some others. I could help Laura way better than her parents could with this specific thing, for instance, right? So I'm just really happy I was able to be there and be that person for her and help her on that journey. Yeah.
And that's awesome. That's big respect for just having that approach and continuing to do so as well, and give that energy. As you mentioned before, like when you got a lot of things going on, a lot of responsibilities, it's your energy that you can give is obviously way, way less, but still being able to do so, I highly commend it and think it's very honourable. What roles have you done in your career?
Roles. Well, I've done a couple things. So, obviously, just like as a concept artist, I've designed stuff. I also really enjoy taking the concepts that I do and then seeing them through to production. I started doing that back at CIG like 9 years ago, but so actually sitting down with the 3D artists that were making my stuff and then seeing if they need any sketches or explanations or that sort of thing, and that sort of leads into art direction slowly, and so actually at the start of this year I've led a small team of creatives as an art director or assistant art director, but art director gave me full control of doing a demo for GDC in San Francisco, and we made this demo with it was 15 people, and I was leading the creative team on that, and it was super successful, and I had so much fun doing that. Also, I've been team leading like concept artists for a while before as well, which I also really enjoy. I mean, it's the same thing as mentoring, right? So when I'm teaching, I just try to help and give as much as possible, and as a team lead you're also then responsible for the results, not just like for the input, but it's very similar to teaching. Done a lot of those things. I've also done some like miniature design, and I've done product design. I'm not sure if you know, but I've worked for the French Air Force and for the German army as well, for Rheinmetall. And for the French Air Force, we designed a cockpit, actually. That was just a funny story. It's actually on my ArtStation. They allowed me to post it. Yeah. So, but they showed those images at like a NATO conference in Geneva at the time. And they were like, all these generals really liked it. And we were like, huh? What? Did you show it? It's like, oh, okay. And then we were allowed to post it as well. It's just, it's really funny. But it was a marketing thing for some sort of, cockpit element that they were trying to market. So that was just really good fun. Just got really lucky to work on a diverse amount of projects. And again, like mostly through the people I know. So that the Air Force thing was through one of my colleagues at CIG. We both left, Gary Sanchez. French. He's a French guy, despite his name. He's amazing. And he was also my art director on Star Atlas later on. So it's just it's funny, and he knew some people there at that company that we work for there. So just lots of different things, really.
So you got a lot of spinning plates. You do a lot of stuff in your career in the industry for ICE as well. Have you got room for anything else that you got cooking?
Well, funny enough, I'm actually starting my own outsourcing company as well, or like design company. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. So I'm launching this summer. I'm launching Pathfinder Studios, and we're going to be doing concept art, world building, art direction for games, film, and other entertainment projects mostly. We've already been working on a number of projects, including this game that I was assistant art directing, and some other bits that are coming out soon. We're working on a project now with Antonio, who has also done a course, cool. Antonio Esparza.
Yep.
So we're working with him on his personal game project, and just doing lots of cool stuff. So super excited for that. And it's just a natural progression from doing the lead concept stuff, the art direction stuff, and other entrepreneurial things that I've been a part of. Like I've been a part of event organizing as well, some other things. So super excited, man. I'm super excited for seeing what that will bring.
When did you make the jump for that?
Actually, a couple of years ago, I already started on it. Like I said, like it was. Well, I was thinking about it for a very long time. I've been talking about it to a bunch of people for a very long time, and really set it out. But I think this was really the year that I really wanted to try it. Also with my son being born, I just felt that drive to take a next step and do more. Started a couple of years ago, really trying to formalize the ideas, and then this year, really pushing it out and launching it with the website and all the other stuff. So super excited.
Did it intimidate you in any particular way to do something like this, or was it the complete opposite? Like, was it something exciting that you felt like, no, this has to happen?
No, it's definitely something that excited me, and it really has to happen, and I'm just looking forward to all the things. So like this summer we're going to Gamescom to really promote ourselves as a company rather than me as an individual. And yeah, it's just something I'm really looking forward to. Also going to other events. We're moving house at the moment, so I don't I couldn't be at a couple events that I wanted to otherwise. But yeah, this summer we're starting out, and then in autumn going to a couple other events just to network and talk to some people. And yeah, it's just really exciting stuff. And plus, I get to hire my friends again and work with them, which is also that community thing again that I find very important. Because all those people I've met over the years, now when I get jobs in, I can just be like, hey, let's work together on this. Let's collab, and I can give back, even more so, not just in the mentoring, but also in the actually giving jobs and projects,
Sick.
which in this day and age, in the current times is
Yes.
is very welcome for people. So just yeah.
Touching upon that, obviously, as a hirer, if is that a word? But yeah, if it's not, we've invented it now. Obviously, you know what it takes to mentor students. You know what it takes to be in the industry. You know what it takes to take a skill set and even switch skill sets as well. This current day and age, hiring practices, or at least what people should do to enable themselves to be hired, what would you advise them?
Well, I've said this before here in the podcast as well. It's like, just make sure that whatever you do is very applicable to the industry, to the processes within the industry, and to the projects of the companies that you apply to. If you apply to several companies, of course, you need to have all sorts of stuff. But just make sure that your portfolio reflects whatever people are looking for, right? So this means showing sketches, ideation, showing the different skill sets that you need as a concept artist. You don't need to be a master of everything, but just show like what you can do. So, for instance, are you good at painting and keyframes, or are you better at like drawing and design? How good are your 3D skills? Just show everything, and the easier you make it for people to employ you, the better. For instance, some people say that like keyframes is not really a thing anymore. But actually, like, a lot of the work that I do professionally is keyframes, and it's still very important. Painting skills are very, very important. And so if that's your jam, then just show that, and you can definitely get hired for that as well. Fan art, as funny as it sounds, is actually really useful sometimes, especially now that you see a lot of remakes of certain IPs, of certain things that were before. I think Tron is coming out, for instance. If you have some like Tron work in your portfolio, fan work, and you and people are on ArtStation just scrolling through ArtStation to see who to hire. And you have some of that work in there, and it's a no-brainer to hire you, right? If it's good. So I actually think that fan art and fan projects sorry, can be super beneficial and a part of a good portfolio. Yeah, I think fan projects are actually really, really good. And just showing just how to be employed. So like I said, like showing the full range of the skill set that's expected as a concept artist. Now on top of that, having some recommendations of people that are respectable in the industry also really helps, because on top of like being good, you also need to be a nice person to work with. People need to be excited to jump on a Zoom call with you every day or every week or however often it is. People need to know that when they get you into a studio that you're not going to do weird stuff. When you're already a bit more experienced, it's usually not that much of a problem. But when you're starting out, especially, it can be very useful to get recommendations. This is also why going to a respected school like New Edge is really good, because if you've been there, then people usually expect you to be at least a normal person, so to speak. So that's also important. And yeah, I mean, if you really want to get the jobs, also don't be afraid to reach out, like we've said before in this podcast, right? Just do the cold calls. I've done so many of them. It was only like so I've been in the industry for 10 years this year, and it was only after about 6 years that I started getting enough emails without me having to email. And by then I already worked on Marvel, a film, right? So even while working on a Marvel film or being good enough for that, I still had to go out and like ask for work. So don't be afraid to do that, and it's fine. Yeah, do what you have to, right? Just be ambitious.
Who did you email? Was it like, did you research some names and notable people, or did you just direct to the studio's email address and to see what
Both.
happened?
Yeah, both. A very good a very good thing to do is find a maybe not a senior, but just like a mid-level concept artist that you like, that works at a company that you want to work for, and ask them for the feedback. Because the seniors, they're either busy, have families, or they usually don't reply as fast. The juniors, they don't know shit. So if you get a mid-level to sort of like network with or get recommended by, they can usually help you out and like actually, from them, like go to the art director of the company and show your portfolio there. This is how I started out, and this is also how some of my students got their jobs as well. So that's what I could recommend. Go to the events, talk to the people there. There's most events now, they do portfolio reviews, so just go there and talk to them, not just to show your portfolio, but also just to show that you're a nice person and be like, hey, I would love to work for your company. By the way, if you talk to anyone at a company, always just be like, hey, this is my portfolio. I would love to work with you. Do you have some feedback on like what to improve on to work for your company, right? Because when you say that, you show that you're willing to learn. You show that you don't have too much ego, and you really open yourself up for whatever criticism, and it makes you really, I don't know, like it's just really, really nice sort of way of sort of introducing yourself. And basically I will either say like, hey, you're good, you're seem like a nice person, let's talk, or these are the points that you need to work on, right? And so both of those are pretty good outcomes, if you bring it like that. So that's what I would recommend. Then so like I said, when I started freelancing, my first job was with Atomhawk, and I actually just applied to a ArtStation job listing for in-house concept artist. And I had an interview with them, and in the interview I was like, yeah, I know this is sort of like for an in-house job, but I would love if it could also be remote because I'm in Rome and I don't want to go to England. And they were like, oh, well, actually, it's only in-house. And then the day after, they emailed me back and they were like, even though it's only in-house, we really liked you and your portfolio, so maybe we could just try it out. And their rates were not really good for like freelancing or whatever, but I didn't care, right? I need to do something. That's another tip, by the way. When you start out, don't worry about the rates. Just make sure you can pay your rent and your food, and like, because there's some info online about rates where you have to ask a minimum of like 500 a day or whatever. Even now, like when you're out of work for a while, don't worry. Just go lower. It sucks, but like you have to do that. But when you're starting out, definitely don't ask for 500. It's you won't get work unless you're really good. But yeah, just be willing to make some sacrifices, be likable, make sure your work is applicable. That's how I would summarize it.
We have to wrap up. You've dropped many gems in this episode, but if I could ask you for maybe a couple more, any final words or thoughts or anything we can look forward to from yourself before we head off?
Yeah, I know it's a pretty crazy times right now in the world, but also in the industry. If you're really passionate about this job, stick your head down, work your ass off. There's work for the good people out there. I can see it. There are still projects, and if you're good enough, you will be able to work on those. So don't worry too much about it. If it's too much to ask, also don't be afraid to, take it as a hobby or go on a side quest. I think that's perfectly reasonable, especially if you have a family to feed. Go to all of the events, definitely. Events are amazing. To to get inspired, find the energy, maybe even learn a couple tricks or tips. Make use of all the tools, especially when you're on a budget. So, YouTube, Blender, all the good stuff. What else? Find a mentor. Yeah, paid or free. Like on a Discord group, just ask like, hey, I need a mentor. I want to learn this and this and this. Be very specific. Or I want to learn to be able to do this and this and this. Show some concept art. Who can mentor me? And yeah, I think mentors are really good. And then maybe switch mentors after 2 years if you learn enough from one mentor and just jump a bit. I think that would be good. What else? I think that's pretty good. Yeah.
Sounds good to
I
me.
don't know, man.
That's good, man. It's been amazing. Love the energy, love the inspiration, and yeah, it's been super positive. Thanks so much for jumping on.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Really, really appreciate it, and thank you again for inviting me. Some amazing people have been here, so just I hope I have something to give as well for the listeners. And yeah, like I said before in the podcast, if anyone needs any feedback whatsoever or tips or tricks, feel free to reach out to me on ArtStation, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, or at an event. I'll be happy to help you along your path.
Awesome. Cheers, dude.
Cool. Take care.
Huge thanks to Jort for that incredible wisdom. Hit the links to see what he is up to and to give him a follow. Then head to learnsquared.com and enrich your own career by taking your next Learn Squared course. And remember, all of our first lessons are free. I've been your host, Aaron Dander. Till next time.